Hi, this is Ben Ricciardi with rotocurve.com, and I'm here with our DraftKings NFL tight end videos for Week 16. There are 4 guys we're going to be taking a look at here, so let me call up the slideshow and we'll take a look. The 4 guys that we're going to be talking about are, Antonio Gates at $5,000, Rob Gronkowski at $7,600, Julius Thomas at $5,100, and Jordan Reed at $6,500. The first guy on the list is Antonio Gates. Goes up against Oakland, who's allowed the second most fantasy points this year to tight ends. He's a road dog in a high total game, so it's likely to be a very pass-heavy game plan for the San Diego Chargers, although lately it's always been a pass-heavy game plan for the San Diego Chargers. Gates leads all NFL tight ends in targets per game. He has 11 to 21-point fantasy score range over his last 4 games, and he's averaging 15.2 fantasy points per game over his last 4. That's going to give you a return of about 3 times value on his average and an upside return of 4 times value or more. The next guy we're going to talk about is Rob Gronkowski. I know he's expensive and I know it's not easy to pay up for him, but he does have the highest floor and the highest ceiling at the tight end position. He sees over 8 targets per game, and he had a great game the last time they played a very blitz-happy Jets defense the first time around this year. He wound up with 11 catches for 108 yards and a touchdown and 30 fantasy points. Brady has less reliable pass-catching options this time, so I could see him going to Gronkowski even more. The way to beat a blitzing team is usually to use the outlet that the tight end provides you, and Rob Gronkowski's in a great spot to have another big game here. Julius Thomas is going up against a Saints team that allows the 3rd most fantasy points to the tight end position. He plays in the highest total game on the day at 51, with the Jags as a 3-point underdog, meaning they should be throwing the ball a lot late. Jacksonville already throws it over 70% of the time when they get into the red zone, and Julius Thomas has a touchdown in 4 of his last 5 games. He's averaging 16.7 fantasy points per game over his last 5, and at $5,100 offers great value. The last guy we're going to talk about is quite possibly the hottest tight end in the league right now, and that's Jordan Reed at $6,500. He does not have a good matchup against a Philly tight end defense that has allowed the least amount of fantasy points at the position so far this year. But Reed is such a big part of that Washington offense, I still think he's going to get his. He's averaging 6 catches and 65 yards and 0.75 touchdowns per game so far this year. Has 9 total touchdowns in 12 games. Had 7+ catches in 3 of his last 4 games. And Philly plays at an extremely high pace, so there are extra plays for both teams. When you have a guy with such a high market share like Jordan Reed does, he's bound to still make some catches. It's also a high total game at 48, with the Skins being underdogs, so they should be throwing late. The thing I like about Reed is they don't only use him as a tight end, they also line him up outside as a wide receiver. He caught his touchdown pass from lining up out wide right in the last game, and it's something that he's been doing all season long. So that pretty much sums it up for the tight ends that we're looking at this week. As you can see, we don't really like many of the cheap options. You know, there are some guys around $5,000, which is about as low as I would go overall today. So thank you guys for joining us here at rotocurve.com. And as always, stay classy, DFS.